Greetings, and welcome to the Bowling Green First United Methodist Church. We hope you enjoy what you're about to see, and you can find us at the corner of Broadway and Church Streets at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, or you can find us online at bgmethodist.org and on Facebook at Bowling Green First United Methodist Church.
So we are, I promise this sermon title will make sense in just a minute. It's not just me hoping for cooler weather, but we're in the Beatitudes and starting the Sermon on the Mount, and the Beatitudes all start with blessed are. Blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are. And that's where we get the name Beatitudes from. Now, for a long time I struggled with that because I'm not sure I know what it means to be blessed. What does that really entail? What does that really mean? I've seen some newer translations of the Bible that don't translate it as blessed are, but do it this instead. They say, happy are people who are hopeless because the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Happy are people who grieve because they will be made glad. Happy are people who are humble because they will inherit the earth. That began to make a little bit more sense to me. We're talking about being happy. Okay, I understand happy better than I do blessed, but there's still something in there that is missing, that I'm missing in the middle of that. And so, but when I think of happy, my mind goes in one particular direction. And no, it's not the new it's not new anymore, but the Pharrell Williams song "Happy." That's not where my mind goes. Although that's a fun song. But my mind goes to a fairly familiar movie that maybe many of you have seen. And one of the important kind of setup parts to this comes in towards the beginning, kind of explaining what the struggle is going to be for the main character, and it looks like this.
Today we give you the most important lesson you will ever hear. Does anyone need what that is? Anyone?
So there we are. Now we've got it set up now. We've got this. We've got this young kid who is expected to behave and act in certain ways, but he can't because he just doesn't know how to, and he just can't kind of conform to their expectations, and now he's stuck trying to figure out what it is that he's supposed to do. He's got a hard road ahead of him now because he doesn't fit in with everyone else. Now this is the point where I think we're starting to get into Jesus territory. Because now I think we're starting to get into a message that Jesus would preach. But in order to really get there, we've got to kind of start taking apart where we've been. Because with the Beatitudes, too often we've taken them and we've made them kind of into objects, things that we are supposed to achieve. We say, blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, blessed are the people. We've got these things, we say, blessed are, whatever it is, and we take those things and we make them into objects so that we can define them, so that we can clearly delineate when we have them and when we don't, and so that we can kind of put them together. And we've created, out of the Beatitudes, we've created a to-do list of things that we are supposed to do or to have. There's a problem with that. Because that makes it really hard, because we get into the middle of that we think we really know what those things mean, and not, so we can kind of put them up there, put that list together, and it makes it easier for us to see them and understand them, but it also makes it easier for us to ignore them. Because now, well, I know what that is, and I don't need to worry about that, and so we just kind of let that go. For example, we can take this idea that says, blessed are the poor. Now it doesn't take much reading around in newspapers or watching TV or reading books or anything like that or talking to folks before we figure out, we know what poor means. Because when we're talking about poor, more often than not what happens is that we say, well, we're talking about someone who is economically poor. They are poor and kind of at a very certain kind of level. And we say that's how we know that someone is poor. Now, in a lot of places, though, we have this idea that poor is not, that there's something wrong with us if we are poor. Because we have underlying that, we have this other kind of this other thought there. And this was, John Steinbeck wrote many years ago. He said, the poor, especially in the U.S., think of themselves more as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. And that it's not really poor. They just say, well, we just aren't millionaires yet. And then the thought, we kind of accept that. We say, well, if we're poor, that just means you need to work a little bit harder. You need to do a little bit more, and you can pull yourself up out of being poor. And so that's a lot of what underlies so much of what we see around us today, is that kind of understanding of poor, which kind of completely contradicts what we actually know about what it means to be poor, which is, especially in this day and age, if you are poor, more than likely you're going to remain poor for the rest of your life. And not only that, but your kids are going to remain poor for their lives, because that just is the cycle that we find ourselves in. But it also means we've got to begin changing our understanding of things, changing how we view some of these things. That it's not that we've got to take these things away from being objects and treat them as something else, and treat them as something different. Now here's the thing. Jesus never intended for the Beatitudes to be kind of this to-do list of stuff. That was never why he gave us them. I remember that when we're talking about the Beatitudes, this is Jesus' introduction to the Sermon on the Mount. That he is giving us where he's going to go with this sermon, and he's just kind of giving us the outline of what it is that's going to take place. A better way to view the Beatitudes aren't as things to be achieved or things to do, but it's a journey. It's a staircase. It's a stair step. It is a path towards something. In the Beatitudes, we are moving towards the Beatitude that says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." That's where we're going towards. We're going to that point of being called children of God, but that is a process to get there. That takes time, that takes energy, that takes a direction to move in and a direction to go towards in order to get to that point. One of the books I've been reading, the author of it put together the first three Beatitudes in kind of a different way that I think helps better explain what it is that Jesus is calling us towards. He does it with kind of a couple of different ways in mind. The first is he refers to our health, and he says this: "Blessed are they who face up to their illness, for theirs is health. Blessed are they who go to the doctor, for they shall be helped. Blessed are they who take the prescription, for they shall inherit the benefit of the doctor's knowledge." This is kind of one way of looking at that. And then as we are getting ready to go back to school, he gives us another one that talks about teaching and learning. And he says this. He says, "Blessed are they who admit they are ignorant, for theirs is learning. Blessed are they who are concerned enough to enroll in school, for they shall be taught. Blessed are they who submit to the teacher, for they shall inherit the teacher's wisdom." I like those. Those give us what it is we're looking for. Those give us the direction that we're headed, and what it is that Jesus is trying to do and trying to teach in us. That it is not a list of things to do, but it is a direction that we are going, and that there is something really important in there that we've got to take part in. Now, I may not be very good at understanding what it means to be blessed or what it means to be happy. Sometimes those kind of things kind of get a little bit confusing. But there is something that those two things have in common. That in order to be really and truly blessed, in order to really and truly be happy, we first have to have acceptance. We've got to accept where it is that we are. That doesn't mean we have to be happy about where we are. It doesn't mean we have to like it. But we first have to accept where we are in our lives at this moment. Because before we do that, before we can accept that, we can't see anything more. Other stuff always is blocking our way. We can't see what it is that we are supposed to be doing. So the first step in all of that is we first have to find that acceptance of where we are in life. In fact, in this next clip, that's what we're going to see happen. And we're going to see as our main character, he has found himself in a place that he doesn't like, that he doesn't want to be in. And he'd been fighting against it for a really long time. And now he finally, we pick it up, he's accepted where he is, and that's the moment then when he can see that there is something else that's possible. Now, if you've seen the movie, you know how this goes on from here. That it pretty well, because of that, all of a sudden everything changes and everything becomes really good and things get fixed and everything just kind of goes crazy. But it all starts because he came back and first kind of accepted, here's where I am. And then when he did that, he was able to look around and to see. But the key there is that he didn't go to try and conform to what everyone else was expected of him. But what made him unique was what then allowed him to do so much. And that's what Jesus is calling us to. As we're looking at these Beatitudes, it's not that we are trying to find a list of things we're trying to do, but it is that we are starting a process where Jesus is guiding us and leading us and directing us and helping us to see what it is that he wants us to be, helps us to see the potential that we have and who we can become and and the direction that we can go. And that's where we need to be heading, because ultimately we are going to that point of trying to be God's children. That's the direction that we are moving towards. When we can fully and completely understand ourselves to be his children, that we have moved in that direction. As we go this week and as we go and get ready for all the stuff that is happening and going on and school starting and everything else kind of starting back up, let's go and move in that direction. Move towards being blessed, move towards being happy, not because we have all of a sudden managed to achieve certain things, but because we are going in the direction that God calls us to go. And we can more clearly see who we are becoming in the midst of it. Let us go and do that in his name. Amen.